In this video, we're going to talk about installing an IDE, or Integrated Development Environment. So now you might be wondering, why are we going to use an IDE as well as use REPL.IT or the command line? Well, a couple things. Number one, REPL.IT, it's great for handing in programs, but it's not quite as flexible as everything else you might use. The command line's useful too, but you don't have great editing tools and you don't have a debugger. Using an IDE, you'll get a full-on debugger, which will make your life considerably easier. So what you probably want to do is build your code in the IDE and then copy the files content into REPL.IT to hand in. So let's get started. First, open your browser. We're going to install the IntelliJ IDE, which in my opinion is one of the better ones out there. You can also use NetBeans, you can also use BlueJ, and you can use Eclipse. Now, all of those are good in their own way, but the one I'm most familiar with is IntelliJ. So, to go to IntelliJ, we're first going to bring open a browser, and we're going to go to JetBrains.com. That's the company that makes IntelliJ, among other products. I happen to use ReSharper all the time in my daily work. So, click on Find Your IDE. Come through here, click on IntelliJ, click on Download. Now, if you come to the bottom here, you'll see Learning or Teaching Programming, the IntelliJ IDE Education version. So let's go ahead and download that. It'll start downloading. Once we're done downloading, we're going to click on the downloaded result. And we're going to quickly go through the install process. Accept the defaults and you're fine. Personally, I would associate the file types and go on ahead. Click install. And it will sit here and goof around for a little bit. When that's complete, you'll see this. Click on Run IntelliJ. Finish. And now the magic will begin. We don't have any settings to import, so we're just going to go with the default. Accept all the licensing agreements. Get through all the fun with Windows. For this, we'll say we're a learner because I'm going to be acting like you guys. And here we go. We are now at the front page. From here, we can go ahead and start creating our first project. So first, we're going to click on Create New Project. Now, we're going to use the default Java and the default SDK, which we installed previously. We're not going to pick any frameworks. We don't need them for what we're doing. Click Next. We're not going to use the default template. Click Next again. Let's give it a name. We'll call it Hello World 2 or Hello World. It's going to create our project for us. I'm going to come over here, click on Source. Now we're going to add our first Java file. All right. Click New Java Class. Let's give it a name. We'll call it Hello World. And then what we'll do is we will create our main method. It has some nice little tools to help us do our work a little easier, like IntelliSense. I can't type today. Hello World from the IDE. Then what we'll do is we'll come over here, see this little arrow, we'll click on it, run hello world.main. It's going to compile behind the scenes, and here we go. We have now run our first program in the IDE. Next, we're going to learn how to debug. Now we're going to demonstrate debugging. To make the demonstration a bit more useful, we're going to come here and add just a little bit of trivial code to our sample here. So I equals 0 plus I. Now what we're going to do is increment I, and I'm going to go and print it again. Now, I've deliberately left a syntax error in here, so when we go to run, it will complain loudly that it can't find this symbol because we didn't give it a type. Now, if we try again, the errors will go away, and we'll print exactly what we think. So now that we've done this, we're going to talk about debugging. Let's say we're not getting the results we want. So what we're going to do is come over here into the left column, click next to it, you'll see a little dot appear. It's called a breakpoint. So now, when we go to run, instead of saying run, we'll say debug. We say debug. The program will now stop here. Okay? And what we can do now is go through the steps of debugging it. If we come down here, you notice it'll stop on this line here. When you click that, it means it goes to the next line. Here we can see that the value of I is 0, and we print it out, we get what we expect. We come to this next line, I is still 0, click it again, now I is 1. The advantage is we can see what's going on. If we're in loops, it'll walk us through loops. If we have other methods, we can step inside, hitting into, or step over. That'll help us learn exactly what our program's doing, so when we get unexpected results, we can fix them. In this case, we're getting what we want, so we're just going to finish up. But that's how you debug, and that's how you use the IntelliJ IDE. So what you do then is, assuming you named everything correctly, this class would probably need to be called main for REPL.IDE. You'd get rid of the public, because REPL doesn't like that. And then you'd copy this code into your REPL.IT environment, run it and make sure it works, and hand it in. And now you've saved yourself a lot of grief when it comes to debugging, and everybody's happy. So enjoy using the IDE.